Give me just a minute. I gotta get parked here, guys. Wait to see if somebody comes on. I'm listening to K-Love. I don't know what song this is. It's K-Love morning show. I kind of like this song. I'm not really sure who sings it. Alright. Let me get situated here. I know I've been running late and I haven't had a couple shows here. Hold on a minute. Just bear with me. Get my car turned off. Hello, Miss Bonnie. Hold on just a second. Oh. Well, the share thing went away. Hold on. Okay, viewers to request. I did that. My daughter said I could do this. Okay, let's see if that works. Good morning, guys. I know I haven't been on here for a couple days. I've had some issues with my children, but my family comes first before Facebook or anything else. I'm sure you can understand that. Had some questions, and then I've been helping some families that's dealing with CPS or DHS or whatever they're called in your different states. They're all the same corrupt organization. The biggest advice that I can give parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, make sure you know what your rights are. I have one family right now. They need to get... I have one family that's registering to be foster parents, even though they're kinship. I told them, I said, go get your foster parenting license. Because it's all about the money. So if they go and get their foster parenting license and then tell CPS, hey, I want to go ahead and take my niece and nephew, or, the grandparents, I want to take my grandchildren, I'm a foster parent now. There's no reason why I can't have my foster kids, because I have my foster kids license. So it's all about money for them. Kinship, you don't get as much money, and they expect you to do it for free, which, if my kids had kids, I'd watch my kids for free. But the thing is, they only want to do what makes them money. All the therapy, all the, labeling the children disabled, labeling them something. They want to label them something, give them meds, medicate them. I try everything I can to talk to the kiddos, keep them from misbehaving and acting out so that they don't drug them and make it impossible for them to even function. I've seen one kiddo was a bubbly kiddo. Just talk. Beautiful little girl. I mean, it's no reason to medicate a little girl just because she's a chipper, happy little girl and talks all the time. They had her so drugged up, she was like a zombie. She went from talking to just sitting there like this. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. Of course, I put in my report, why are we doing this? This little girl was perfectly fine before. Yes, we called her chatterbox, but that doesn't make her needing medication. I loved her chatter. I mean, I could talk to her and she just chatter. You got some kids that don't talk. So why medicate her because she talks? You afraid she might say something? So that's one of the things. But documentation is the key, people. If CPS has your children, you make sure to document everything. Everything. Phone calls, text messages, when they come out to visit you on the monthly visits. I also suggest parents to put on their phone this app. It's called Sign Easy, or an app like that, where if you have to go to drug drops, counseling, therapy, anything that they request of you to do, whether it's domestic violence, counseling, anger management. I mean, they make you go through all these different things, programs that you don't even have to go to. I had a client who had never done drugs, who doesn't drink, who doesn't nothing, and they were requiring her to go to AA meetings. Why? And that was the question, why? Even the judge was like, why? She doesn't have a history of drugs. She's never, and come to find out the caseworker had put in her report because years ago, I guess apparently when she was a teenager, she tried it once. And so now she's got to go to AAA and rehab. You know how stupid that is? It's all about money, people, and they requiring parents to do all this stuff to the point that they lose their jobs. And that's the sad part, is they get these parents so busy in trying to get their kids back, doing all these different programs and parent education and stuff like that, that they don't care the fact that the parent has a full-time job trying to, keep their house and their cars. And, you actually have some parents that try. Some parents just give up. They're like, shoot, I can't do all this. There's no way. They're not going to give me my kids back, so what's the point? And they give up and they get depressed. And that's when I would come in, drag their little feet out of bed and say, let's go, your kids need you. If anybody's going to protect your kids, it's going to be you. Get them out of these foster homes. These foster homes are only doing it for the money, and don't tell me that they're not, okay? Because when you ask them, could you watch these kids for free and not get paid? They'll be like, I didn't do this to not get paid. So I'm not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying that they do get paid. Foster parenting is pretty much a job, and you get paid for it. So, and it's crazy how they're allowed to turn people down that are good people. They turned me and my husband down just because of our age difference. He may die soon. Okay, so can I. I mean, just stupid stuff like that. And then I've seen some foster homes that were messier than the children's home that they came out of, that they were complaining that was too dirty. And they would put them in a foster care home that was dirtier than their own home. So I'm just like scratching my head going, and the logic of this is, so just because the kids are taken, this is what I tell people, just because somebody's kids are taken doesn't mean that they were taken properly or rightfully. And get your head out of the sand and talk to that family, because most likely those children are taken on false allegations, or they were taken just because, until they know for sure, which is stupid. Meanwhile, you're traumatizing the children. Meanwhile, you're traumatizing the family, causing depression, causing the trauma, and then you expect the children not to react. And that's the sad part of it, is they know the children are going to react. They know the children are going to misbehave. And then you've got some children that don't understand, and they're being told by their foster parents, oh, it's your parents' fault. And then they get angry at their parents, and then they start lashing out at their parents. And it's not their parents' fault. They should be lashing out at the foster parents and the guardian ad litem and the caseworker, because they're the ones who's upheavaled their lives and changed and made everything different without allowing them to even process what's going on with their parents. And then when they do see their parents, all their parents do is cry. I don't blame them. I would cry too. So the problem is our caseworkers, the majority of our caseworkers, 90% of them do not have children. They get them right out of college, or they get them fresh out of training, and they train them to make everybody that's been called on, automatically think of them as abusers. And they think these horrible thoughts about people and don't even give them a chance to even really sit down with them and learn from them and understand that everybody's human. We'll all make mistakes. We're not perfect. Nobody's going to be a perfect parent. I guarantee you, I've been seeing a lot on Facebook lately of these caseworkers that abuse children, or caseworkers running trafficking and all this stuff, and foster parents doing trafficking and stuff like that. This is about ready to blow up. It needs to blow up. All of this CPS crap that's going on, these people that, in Kansas alone, they had a caseworker raped a child. That's unacceptable. Why isn't that place shut down? Why isn't there a full investigation on CPS? Why is it just one story and then it gets pushed under a rug. It should be blown open and investigated, and every single case investigated, and children returned to their parents, because all of this is bullcrap. Everybody knows it except those who have their head in the sand and don't want to believe that CPS could be an enemy of the people. And they're an enemy of the people, and we need to start rising up, people, and saying and looking and really helping these parents get their kids back. Just because the power, I've had my power turned off twice since I've been married. I've been married 25 years. Sometimes things happen, and I've had to get help from the church to help us pay bills once in a while. We lived on Section 8 for 7 years, but that doesn't mean anything, okay? Now I own my own home. Now I own my own business. Well, I did own my own business till CPS took my contracts. But it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I'm going to continue doing what I can to help, trying to get the knowledge out there and help these parents be knowledgeable. Remember, don't let them in your home. Plain and simple, get a sign. My home, my children, no warrant, CPS not welcome. I talked to a police officer last night at the ticketing place. My daughter had to go in for her ticket thing. And they are not educated. They have to have a GED or a high school diploma. They don't know anything about CPS or nothing like that. They don't know any of this stuff. So don't assume just because a police officer shows up at your door with CPS that they even know what they're doing. They're there because they were called to be there, okay, and keep the peace. That's it. And if they're told to do something because they're called out there, they don't know what's going on. They're just following orders. That's all. And they don't know what's going on. And I've had a police officer whose daughter was her daughter's children were taken. And she's like, I had no idea that all of this was going on. She had been blinded for years, had no idea. She'd been a police officer for years, had no idea CPS was this corrupt, had not a clue until it happened to her family. So we've got to start asking questions, people. Why is this happening? Why is it becoming? Because it's all about money. It's done. I think originally it started out to be something good. And then now it has become a money making. It has been nothing more than they have to meet a quota, just like police officers and everything else in this corrupt world. It's all about the money. And they're putting our children's lives and our families' lives in the bank, basically. And that doesn't matter how traumatizing it is to families, and it's wickedness and it's wrong. So we need to be praying. We need to step up. We need to do whatever it takes to help these families. If you know of a family that has had their children taken, ask them, what is it they're telling you have to do to get your kids back? If they're saying, well, we got to get the roof fixed. Okay, neighbors, let's get together and get the roof fixed. Well, they say that we have to do this. We got to get beds in all the rooms. All right, let's get beds for all the rooms. Instead of judging them, ask them what you can do to help. Okay? If you don't know, then ask them. Okay? I'm sure they would love the help, whatever help they can do. Okay? Don't be judgmental. Just because their kids have been taken don't necessarily mean that they deserve to have been taken. Don't believe that lie. Okay? Don't believe that lie, because it's not true. A majority, 90% of my cases, right now we're fighting for our mom to help her get her kids back. We're fighting for her because they're making up all this crap that's not true, and we're documenting everything. We're trying to help her, and she is a good mom. I mean, she has got her stuff together. She owns her own home. She's a good mom. There's absolutely no reason, none. She's not a drug addict. She's not an alcoholic. She's not abusive. Nothing. There's absolutely no history, nothing. But yet they're determined they're going to take her children and keep her children away from her. And that's just wickedness, and it's wrong. And I keep asking myself, what can we do to help her? And there's nothing except fight in court. And, she is more calm about it than I would ever be. Knowing what's going on and stuff, she's more calm about it than I am. And it just breaks my heart, because these kiddos deserve to be with their mom. And there's nothing I can do other than pray for her and encourage her and ask if there's anything I can do. And sometimes that's all you can do, okay? And just pray for the judge's heart to do the right thing and document everything per our conversation, everything and anything, okay? So, anybody have any questions? I'm doing all the talking this morning. I kind of hope to have somebody ask me some questions or interact with me, but that's okay. This weekend's going to be a busy weekend. Hopefully the weather will hold out for us this weekend. I've got a lot to do next week, so I probably won't be on here at 8:30. I'll probably be more by 9 next week if I'm able to be on here. I'm going to do some parenting education, love and logic here, kind of talk about consequences. I would like to discuss about that young lady who had her son wear the I'm a bully shirt. There's a lot of people judging that mom, and I think it might be a discussion that needs to be had. I don't think she was wrong, but I think there's a judge out there, I can't remember his name, that he kind of does that kind of stuff. Like if they're a thief, he makes them stand on the side of the corner for their community service saying, I'm a thief, let everybody know. Why? Because it reminds them, hey, I have to take responsibility for what I do. So we'll discuss that next week about consequences. I'm not a real big person on humiliation, but I do know that we all are human and we strive on acceptance and we strive on praise. How do you feel about keeping the parent involved after adoption? I think it's great. I think the parent should be involved if it's an open adoption. Now, if the situation for the adoption is because of abuse, then I say no. It all depends on why the adoption happened. Now, I have several adoptions that I helped. The parents knew they couldn't raise the children, and I actually helped them find a family that has an open adoption. So it's great if it's a mutual agreement and the kids are happy with that. Now, if it's too emotional for the children, so I take it on a case-to-case basis, whether or not I recommend the children having and the parents involved afterwards. I have one family that had the adoption, and they go to all the ball games of their kiddos. They go to any school functions. They have holidays with the adopted families, all of that. And it's clearly a good open adoption. Now, there's other adoptions that I've helped that absolutely not. There's no contact. They can't. They literally couldn't. So, like I said, that's a case-to-case basis. But keeping the parent involved, do you recommend child change their name after adoption? That also, what I do with that is if they're old enough to know that they're adopted and they want to change their name. If a child wants to change their name. Now, I don't recommend it if a child doesn't want to change their name. If they're old enough to make that decision, say 10 or whatever, I recommend going ahead and letting them, because it is a change. It's something that they want to do. A lot of children do want to do that. And I think it's healthy for them to be able to make choices like that if they want to. Now, if they're newborn babies and stuff like that and the parents want to change the name, then absolutely, I wouldn't even tell them what their birth name was until they're older. But again, that's a case-to-case basis. Nothing is cookie cut. Don't think that, because children are all different. They don't come with all the same attitude and same demeanor, and they deal with things differently. Same thing with case-to-case basis. You've got to look at the case and figure out where you're at in the case, where the children are at emotionally. And some children I know when I was adopted, I wanted to change my name to Katrina. But my mom loved my name. My adopted mom loved my name Lucinda and wouldn't let me change my name, but yet they changed my brother's name. I thought that was unfair. Why can't I change my name? If he can change his name, why can't I change mine? And they didn't let me change my name. But then I got to loving my name because I realized it was unique. Not everybody has the name Lucinda, and so it was different. So I think in my lifetime I've met one other Lucinda, and I've seen it on a soap opera, somebody named Lucinda. But other than that, I hardly ever hear the name Lucinda. So, and it means bearer, bringer of light. And I like that. And so my name is Lucinda Grace, bearer of light. And I like that. So do I recommend changing the name? Yes and no. Like I said, case-to-case basis. So I appreciate the questions, Bonnie. That really is helpful. Are you a foster parent, adopted parent, a parent who's putting a kid up for adoption? I mean, I'm just curious. But you got to remember, children who are being adopted, they have a lot of mixed emotions. They're excited that they're wanted. They're excited that they're moving on. But they're going to have some questions, and they're going to need to process some things. And a lot of people don't do that. Foster to adopt. That's good. That's good. So make sure to let them voice what they need. Okay? If they don't want to change their name, respect that. If they do want to change their name, help them process that. What's that going to look like? Those people that know you as this name, is it going to upset you? If they see you and call you by this, process that, what it's going to look like. What's it going to look like years down the road? Help them really think about it before you make that decision. Now, if they're babies, as a parent, sometimes you just want a fresh start and help the kiddos with a fresh start. And if it's a bad situation and you don't want the parents that you're adopting them from to find them, if it's a violent situation or a vital, one of those situations where the parent shouldn't be involved, depending on the situation, I would recommend changing their name, because then they will research where they are and located. Because you want to keep the kiddos safe, okay? Because you will have situations where you might need to do that. So, but again, if they're old enough to talk and they're old enough to discuss and have a conversation, don't change their name without asking them first. Okay, let them decide, let them process it, let them understand what it means and how it's going to affect them, because it will affect them, and they got to understand that. There's a ripple effect. Let them know. Use the analogy of a rock going in the pond and watching the ripples. It's going to have a ripple effect, just simply changing their name. Okay? It's not a bad thing. It could be a good thing. I'm not saying that. But allowing the child to process that and understand that. Okay? And I think it's important. Like I said, case-to-case basis. And so my answer is yes and no. And like I said, I take case-to-case basis. And what a child is thinking. You've got to process that with the child. Okay? Let them be a part of this. Don't let them feel like they don't have a say. Because it's important for these children, they're already traumatized enough, to have some feel of control in their lives. Okay? Some form. Okay? Granted, you're the adult. You're the one that has to make safety decisions for them. Unfortunately, sometimes as a parent, we have to step in and make the hard decisions for them. But allow them to be a part of that process. Because if you don't teach them during this hard time how to process and how to deal and how to communicate, when they become adults, they're not going to know how. They're not going to know how to process a situation. And you've got to train them how to do that. And even as foster parents, it's our responsibility. A behavior, there's a reason for every behavior. And that's where you got to ask yourself. I had kiddos who would steal, not because they were thieves, but because that was their coping skills to help them when they were sent to bed hungry, or they were worried that there wasn't going to be enough food. Okay, so the behaviors of stealing stopped when they knew that they wouldn't have to ever worry about that. So they ended up processing it. Don't punish children just because they quote unquote misbehave. Okay, especially foster kids. I was a foster kid for 19 years. My behaviors were based on my situation. Every home was different. Now you got to understand, I was abused in all of my homes. I was beat. I was starved. I've had almost every bone broken in my body at some point or another. I've had my cheekbones broken. I've had my eye sockets broken from being punched. I've had my eardrums busted a couple times for being hit upside the head. So my coping skills for each and every foster home was different, because I would assess what's going on, how they treated me. That's pretty bad at that age, that I'm assessing and trying to figure out, how can I survive this foster home? Okay? Kids are great at surviving, okay? And they do whatever it takes. But you got to understand, some of these behaviors that foster kids are struggling with is simply just a symptom of something deeper. And you got to figure out where that behavior is coming from. And if you can sit down with them and process it, watch my video on couches. Do a couch with them. Make them understand that there's nothing they can do, nothing they can say that's going to cause them to be punished, but you can't help them unless you know what's going on. Allowing them to have a clean slate, allowing them to process, being able to talk to you and trust in you and believe in you. That's what couches is for, okay? You've got to be able to open that door of communication with them. And that is the key in helping these kiddos. Any kiddo that is having behavioral problems, you'll find either one or two things are happening. They're struggling with their own selves, puberty or, bullies at school, but they don't know how to talk about it. They don't want to make things worse, and they don't know who to talk to. They don't know who to trust. And you don't want to betray that trust. So the couches is a good opportunity for them to be able to sit down with you and not have the consequences as, am I going to get in trouble if I tell you this? This person makes me feel uncomfortable and I don't know how to deal with it. Helping them to process the problems that they're having, okay? And allowing them to problem solve with you and brainstorm with you on how to problem solve. Why? Because you're giving them the tools to be able to problem solve when they become adults, okay? But if they don't have that process as kiddos and teenagers, having that process of problem solving and being able to have somebody to talk to help them problem solve without judgment and punishment, because we all make mistakes, we all do things stupid, children don't think with the whole brain, they think with parts and pieces of their brain as they grow. And so they don't make very good choices. And being able to teach them how to process every decision that they make. They make decisions every single day. What clothes they wear, how they behave, whether they stay angry. Teaching people anger management. You choose to be angry or not to be angry. Yes, angry. You can be angry but sin not, God says. What does that mean? And teaching them what that means. Doesn't mean you can't be angry. It means how do you treat others when you're angry? You don't get the right to beat up people just because you're angry. Okay? Teaching people how to process that anger. So you as foster parents, you as parents need to learn, there's a different language when it comes to your kiddos. You're all grown up. You've got the process down, or you should by then. But if not, what a great way to teach your kids how to problem solve doing couches. Hey kiddo, I see you're having a struggle today. You seem kind of upset. Their nostrils are flaring and they're all the time, and they're slamming doors and they're huffing and puffing, and their body language says I'm upset. Okay, their body. And just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that they're not legitimately have a reason to be upset. For you might think it's funny, the reason why they're upset, but the fact is they're upset. and allowing them to process that and allowing them to say, hey, I did this. I'm really upset about it. It was my favorite shirt and I got it all dirty. And well, let's see if we can get it clean. Let's try to problem solve this instead of spending the whole day being mad and angry. Helping them process what they can do and what they can't do. Oh, so it was your favorite shirt. Well, maybe if you help me clean the garage today, we can go buy another shirt. See, problem solving. Okay? And teaching them responsibility if they've done something, making it right. Say, I had a kiddo who, in a group home, he peed in one of the other kids' shampoo, and he wanted to make it right, but he didn't want the kiddo to know that's what he done.